Hello everyone and welcome back to Jessie Kate Creates. I'm Jessica and today I have a project share for you. Okay, so here's the card. The card I'm about to show you really wanted to be a tutorial, but I just couldn't make it work, and I'll tell you a little bit more why in just a moment. But here's the card and matching envelope. This pretty get well card that was actually not too difficult to make, but I just love all the gold shine on this card. So let's get into all the supplies I used. For this card, we'll start with kind of the showpiece of the card, which is this beautiful gold foiled leaf that just, oh, so pretty, right? Well, this actually is not a stamp. This card is 5x7, so it's a larger card. It's 5x7. And I don't have any stamps that are big enough to kind of fill up space like this. So actually what I used was, wait for it. Actually, guess what I used here. Go ahead and in the comments below, take a guess as to what this is. Don't worry, I'll give you a second. Go ahead, make your guess. All right, you made it? Good. So for this, I used a wall decal from the Dollar Tree. That's right, simple wall decal. And I actually purchased these to decorate the door of my office, but that did not work out so well. I didn't love how that turned out. So I had an extra, actually I had 2 extra ones of these. And I wanted to figure out kind of what I could do with them. So the first time I made this card, I was actually just playing around and kind of seeing what I could do. I tried a couple of different things, but this was actually what I ended up landing on. Now, this is really thin plastic because it's a wall decal. It's super duper thin plastic. So if you stay tuned till the end, I will show you a little trick for how you get your decal onto your cardstock flat and smooth without any like bubbles or bumps. So that's the showstoppers, our wall decal. For the little decorations on the card, you can see I have those little rhinestones. And I picked 3 colors. There's a light blue, a teal to kind of match the teal cardstock, and a clear kind of silvery one. And I added that to each of the little leaves. And these are just gems or rhinestones in my collection. I picked these up on Amazon. I think you can still get them on Amazon. If you can, I will link them below. So I just added those. I just glued those down. For the sentiment, I just used a Get Well sentiment from my stash. It's from a set of dies. I don't know what the name of these dies are. I picked them up at AC Moore a few years back. But you can use any dies in your stash, guys. The important thing here isn't the products I'm using. It's really just the card design. So you can use whatever is in your stash. For the sentiment, I wanted it to have some dimension. So I layered 2 pieces of white cardstock and then this gold matte metallic on top. So there is dimension. Hopefully you can see that. There is dimension to this die cut piece. And then I also decided to run a little gold bow across the bottom of the card. And for that, I used this DMC diamond gold string, I guess. I don't know. Sorry to all the fiber artists out there. But yeah, it's just a pretty gold. I don't use a ton of like string and ribbon on my cards. So this roll will last me forever, probably. But I thought that was really nice. And to string this, I poked 2 little holes. And I ran the string and just kind of taped it to the back of this white cardstock. And then separately, I tied on a bow and just added that bow with a little bit of glue. And I think that just gives a better look to my bows. And to keep the little strings in place, because I kind of hate it when my bows fly all over the place, I don't know if you can see, I put the smallest dab of glue just here, and then set the ends into it so that my bow is going to stay nice and in place when I mail it. For the edge of this white cardstock piece, and this piece is roughly, I think, 4 1/4 by 6 1/4. And for the edges, I just took a pair of scissors and distressed the edge of the cardstock so that it would add a little bit of interest and texture. And I also decided to round the corners of the card because I thought that just kind of softened it. Okay, for the back matting piece, this is a piece of Concord and Ninth Sea Glass cardstock. I think this is just such a pretty calming color, which I thought would work really well for a Get Well card. So that's what I used there. And I believe this is 4 7/8 by 6 7/8, so that it just has that really thin white border. So that is everything I used for the front of the card. Oh, I don't know if I mentioned it, but this white piece is foam mounted. So this card does have a little bit of dimension to it because this white cardstock is foam mounted and the die cut also has a little bit of dimension, but I think this is flat enough that it would still fit through the mail easily. For the inside of the card, this Get Well sentiment I used is from Crafter's Companion. Heard you're under the weather, sending a little note to wish you well and hopefully brighten your day. This is from the Crafter Companions Get Well Soon stamp set. This is a huge stamp set. I don't know if you can see it very well. I picked a couple of these up at Tuesday morning. I don't know, a few years ago at this point. But they're great for the inside of the card or the front of the card because they take up a lot of space and they're just really nice sentiments. So I really like those. Again, use what you have in your stash. You don't have to use those sentiments to make this card or a card similar to it. Next up, for the little leaf image, like I said, I don't have any big leaves in my stash of stamps, and I don't have any leaves that look like this one, but that's okay. I just went and found a big leaf, and the best one I could find was this Fragrant Camellia's stamp set from Fun Stamper's Journey. So I just stamped that down in the Concord and Ninth Sea Glass ink so that the ink coordinates with the paper I used on the front. And then you can see I also stamped that leaf on the envelope for a coordinating envelope. And for the sentiment, I used Concord and Ninth's Stardust, which is kind of like a, I don't know, maybe a deep mustard yellow goldeny color that I thought worked with the gold tones on the front of the card. And then, I don't know if I said this already, but I did round the corners of the card. If you're going to round the corners of your card, just make sure that you round the corners of all your layering pieces as well, so they all have that rounded corner to them. For the envelope, I just stamped that image on the front of the envelope, the same leaf I stamped inside the card. And for the back, I just stamped hello there, and that hello there is from Hero Arts, I believe. Yes. This greeting set from Hero Arts, I picked this up at Joann's. I think they still sell it at Joann's. I love these tiny stamp sets because they're small, so they're not too expensive, and you get a lot of different sentiments that you can use for a lot of different occasions. So I use this one quite a bit. So that's everything I used for the card and the envelope. Now, would you believe I made this card 3 times? The first time I made it, I was just playing around. I had my wall decals out and I was just kind of playing around to see what I could do. I tried a lot of different things and I ended up making this card. I wasn't planning to make a card, so I was not filming that. So then I thought, you know what? I will remake this card. I had a friend at the time who was sick, so I thought I'll remake this card. So I'll have one to send to my friend and I'll have one for some upcoming craft fairs that I'm doing, so that'll work out great, right? So I remade the card, I filmed myself making the card, and when I went to edit it, the top of the screen was like completely out of frame. So you only see from like here down. So I thought that's not gonna do so hot. So I decided I'd make one more card. And again, it's the same. The only thing I changed was the sentiment. So instead of a Get Well card, now we have a Thinking of You card. I did change the sentiment on the inside. It's from that same Crafter's Companion stamp set, but just kind of a more general thinking of you and sending sunshine type of sentiment, which I really love. So just by changing the sentiment, you can get a lot of versatility out of a card layout. But anyway, I thought I filmed myself making this card. But the next day when I went to add the footage to my computer, it wasn't there. So either I hadn't pressed the record button or somehow it disappeared. And it's probably more likely user error that I thought I was recording, but I hadn't actually pressed the button. So that's why I said this is the card that just really did not want to be a tutorial. So now is time for the tip portion of the video. So I want to show you these decals are very, very thin and kind of flimsy, especially at these little points where there's not a lot connecting it together. So at the base of each leaf, it's really flimsy. Ooh, yeah, this is like thinner than paper. And it was really hard for me to peel up and lay straight onto my cardstock. So I found the best way to do that is to take a full sheet of cardstock, or a mostly full sheet of cardstock. You don't want to use cardstock that's already been cut down to size. Let me back up a little. That's going to make it a lot harder. So just take a full sheet or a mostly full sheet of cardstock. And what you're going to do is very slowly and carefully, and if you kind of just work and bend the edge of the paper, the tip of the sticker will pop up. You want to go very slow here when you peel it up. Don't rush the process. Just kind of slowly take your time. And these leaves are going to want to stick to each other. They're going to kind of want to go all over the place. I'm trying to use my thumb or my pinky to just add a little bit of tension so it pulls up a little better. But you can kind of see these leaves flopping in the wind because they are so thin. So initially what I tried to do, and I messed up one or two of these leaves trying to just place it flat onto the cardstock. That didn't work because one leaf would get down and then one would kind of bend to the side and it just didn't want to lay straight. So what I found the easiest thing to do is to take this and lay it pretty side down onto your work surface. So the gold shiny side is facing my mat and the sticky side is facing up at me. And I just dropped it down and let it go. That's all I did. I dropped it down so that the sticky side is facing up to me and the pretty side is facing my work surface. And now that that leaf is down and the sticky side is up, all you're gonna do is take your paper, and I kind of slightly bend it, not a ton, but I'm just gonna slightly bring it together, and then I'm just gonna drop it down, just like that. Just drop it right down. And then kind of from the back, smooth it out, and then flip it over. And that I found is the best way to get the image to go down nice and smooth onto your paper. Then you can take your fingers and just kind of gently press to get out any air bubbles. But when you do that way, I find you don't get a lot of air bubbles. Now here, this also gives you some freedom in how you want to cut it. So I just use my paper trimmer, but if you want it to be straight up and down, you can kind of cut it here. Maybe you want it to be at a little bit more of an angle. So you cut it a little bit more like here. You just have a lot of options for what you want to do with it. But this is why you want to use a full sheet of paper so that it's a little bit easier to get it down. So that is the tip I have for you if you're going to try creating with these thin wall decals. They were thin, they are flimsy, but they look gorgeous on the card when they're mounted on cardstock. And these were only like $1 at the Dollar Tree. So I thought that was, well, now probably $1.25. So I thought that was a really great deal and a really cool way to use an item that I already owned. So those are the cards I have for you. I hope you enjoyed this project. If you ever decide to recreate this or do something similar to it, I would love to see what you guys create. And the best way to share that with me is to head over to Instagram. I will have my Instagram account linked in the description box below. Head over to Instagram and tag me at Jessie Kate Creates with your creations so we can kind of see what everyone is making. I would love that. So thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I can't wait to see you in the next one. Bye guys!